Welcome back to the neighborhood, boys and girls. Our next guest is Andrew Dobbins. Andrew, welcome to the neighborhood, my man.
Thank you.
You are not a realtor, but in the real estate world. So we do not just realtors, we do everybody in the business, and we do people outside the business that we work with. So before we get into your real estate life, let's talk about Andrew prior to Home Inspector. Talk a little bit about your journey and how you got here, because most times when I talk to people that wind up in real estate, they got here by some crazy little path, and no one's like, hey, when I'm in second grade, I want to be a home inspector. Hey, I want to be a realtor, you know? It's like, oh, I'm in school to be a veterinarian, and I bought a house. And tell me about your journey.
Yeah, so I actually started in nutrition. So my undergraduate degree is in nutrition. I have a master's degree in clinical nutrition as well. I worked in hospitals. I did executive catering. I ran a corporate cafe for a while. I worked with pediatrics in my last
all home inspector stuff.
Yeah,
you know
that's
I mean?
just all related to houses.
Mm-hmm.
And I bought a house because I was a dietitian, and I was moving closer to where I was working. And I bought a house, and my home inspector was this crotchety old man who just was not interested in having a kid ask him questions about houses. And the first thing I thought is, I don't even know if he's a good home inspector, because he's such a bad people person that I can't even gauge if he really, he was kind of giving me one-word answers. And so I looked at my wife and I said, I'm going to be a home inspector. And she was, of course, scared, because she knows when I say little quips like that, I'm like 100% all in.
You're all in.
Just a month later, I was signed up for school, and I, took all the classes and got the state license and went out and did mentored inspections, started a company, and we're 3,000 inspections deep.
How long ago was that?
6 years ago, I started the journey.
Okay.
5 years ago, I kind of started the company.
Okay, nice.
So,
that is a crazy journey. It's always awesome, the answers that I get, because I never expect the journeys that people tell me that they've been on. It's like, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And the good thing is, you were really vague about the home inspector, because you just kind of described like half of the home inspectors that are in the business. So no one's going to go, oh, I know who that is, because there's a bunch of those crotchety old men that do that. So, so now you've been doing this for 5 years. Were you ever like, anything in your life, I want to have my own business kind of thing? Have you always been entrepreneurial?
I have.
Or this was...
I did, which I think a lot of young kids do, but I did landscaping for 10 years.
Okay.
So I did some of that. And I kind of, I definitely, even when I was in nutrition, I thought about doing, coaching. I actually did powerlifting for a while, so I was, going to get involved with some stuff like that. And it just kind of never came to fruition. And then this was like, once I started down this path, I was like, this is it. Nice. This is where I'm going to be. So I'm super excited. I mean, it's still like kid at a playground. Every day I pull up to a house, I'm never like, I got to, I'm excited to be there. So it's awesome.
Now, is it something where, I guess I would put myself in your shoes, the more dilapidated or crazy the house is, the more I'd be like, ooh, I get to look at that. Ooh, we got some knobbing too.
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting because every house is so different, and you start to, my new thing is like, I just guess things. I'm like, I'll look at an air conditioner and I'll be like, I think that's a 2004. And then I see how close I am, like just to, so yeah, I mean, you pull up to a house and you're like, okay, as a home inspector, you have to know so many different things about so many different things. And then, being able to kind of say, okay, this house was built in the 60s, so I'm going to be looking for aluminum wiring. And I have people all the time, and they're saying, hey, you think there's any lead water pipes? I'm like, no, it's too late. So you kind of do. You depending on the house you pull up to, you kind of already know what you're looking for, just based on when it was built and the area that it's in and things like that. So, but it's kind of like a big hide and seek game.
Sure.
So it's fun.
How do you weigh I have to be a responsible person to, I don't want to kill every deal that comes across me by giving them a 77-page thing? Because like, it's like almost anything else. If you look hard enough, if it's not new construction, then even half the time, if it is new construction, you can still find a bunch of stuff. So how do you weigh how much you put in?
So I don't think it's how much goes in. It's just we endeavor to do everything and be solution oriented, right? So it's not about how much we find, it's what you do with that information.
Right.
Really helping the buyers. Honest to God, half the time I'm the one trying to convince the buyer to still move forward.
Right.
But just, there's so many, it's like the mortgage industry. It's not like, well, if your credit score is 630, we can't do anything for you. No, I have, my Mary Poppins bag of tricks.
Sure.
And so sometimes I say to people, listen, maybe you have to do this. Maybe we need to discuss something with the seller. Maybe we got to talk to the agent and see if there's room in the contract for this or that. I mean, you wouldn't believe when you actually start to sift through it, there's not a whole lot that should be a deal killer.
Right.
Almost everything's fixable. And I tell most people, don't panic until I panic, and most often though, when the house is in really bad shape, they know that going in.
Right.
So as long as you kind of, I'll ask them up front, say, hey, what's your goals here? And they're like, oh, we're going to renovate the whole house. Okay. So a leaking toilet's not that scary because you're going to gut the whole bathroom anyway, so as long as you approach it like thinking from their mindset and what they're going to be doing with the house, everything becomes a lot less scary.
And like I've had some nightmare things where there were like foundation problems.
Yes.
And I could tell that the selling realtor was trying to play it down, and the buying realtor may not have known what's going on. But like when it comes to foundational stuff and things like that, how do you tactfully say this is really a problem?
Education. I mean, when it's kind of always a fear of the unknown. When you start saying things to people and they don't understand it, they get nervous, right? A lot of times for foundation stuff, you have to take them down there.
Right.
So come into the basement with me. Let me explain to you exactly what's going on here, why it's a problem, what you could potentially do to fix it. Again, you do have to be careful with, I'm not an engineer, I'm not a contractor, but you say, listen, typically when we see things like this, here are some of the solutions they may come up with. However, there's other professionals you might want to consult with, but when they understand the problem from start to finish and all the steps in between, they're a lot less nervous.
Sure.
They may decide I don't want the house, and that's their decision. But when it's not so scary, it becomes a lot more manageable.
Are there any types of homes where when you see it, you're like, damn, I really don't want to, whether it's like a 1930s house or, something that has got a crawl space that's only a certain distance.
I'm not sure anyone likes crawl spaces. Right. I'll be fair. I don't know of anybody. It's all different. I don't think there's a whole lot that scares me anymore. I think you kind of just, it's like different loan types. You show up, you do your job kind of thing. But I like older homes. They're a lot more predictable. In new homes and custom builds, they do all kinds of weird stuff. You got to try to figure out all this crazy. In a new home, I mean, I can look at a 1920s house and tell you where the bathroom is and tell you how many bedrooms it has just by looking at the front of it, because they're all so predictably set up and predictably built. And so that goes back to some of my guessing. I'm like, I think that's the master bedroom, and so I'll kind of play some games with myself. But we do old houses all the time. We live in an area, Camden, Pennsauken, Woodbury, have old houses. So those are actually really within my comfort zone, So,
nice.
But yeah, no, it's all about the same.
Cool. Now, moving to like promotion, networking, all the other stuff, what do you do to get yourself out there? Like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok? Are you all the above?
Just created an Instagram probably a few weeks ago.
Okay.
It's something I want to start doing more, especially because realistically, my job is a professional photographer. That's what I do for a living. I take pictures of things. So Instagram's, I think, a great way to reach people. I haven't gotten that into it yet. I feel like a 70-year-old man when I say some of these things, but I'm still kind of figuring out all the quirks of it. Facebook I've had for a while, but I didn't do much with, so I'm definitely diving into deeper on both of those. I think it's a great way to reach a lot of people and a lot of first-time home buyers, which is, I love working with first-time home buyers. So.
Not going to the TikTok yet?
Not yet. Just outside my comfort zone.
I joke about it all the time. I hired my 16-year-old daughter to help me with the TikTok stuff, and I still I watch it and I look at it and I think it's really cool. But then when I have a marketing background, but I'm still struggling with how to turn. I could make funny videos if I wanted to. I could do parodies. I could do stuff, but it hasn't clicked in my head. How do I turn that into
How do you get from third base
leads?
to home?
Yeah.
How do you? And that's kind of Instagram is a little more simple, I guess, for me. TikTok seems there's algorithms and it gets confusing, man. That's beyond my expertise.
Yeah. I just recently started doing some projects, and my partner is a roofer. So we've walked into some homes, and when we go there, he's like, oh my God, look at I don't even know what the hell it is, the ridge line vent, something like that. Do you know immediately when you're walking up to a house, somebody did some really shady work on
usually.
That, you know what I mean?
I'm fortunate to say I'm at the point where I think I've seen almost everything. The cool part of this job is you learn something new every day, but a lot of it is overly repetitive. So I do home inspections for friends, and it's 7 minutes.
Right.
And I'm like, boom, boom, boom. That, there. Okay, let's go. The hard part's actually taking all the photos, writing down everything that happened, going over it all with the client. That's the time-consuming part. So, you walk into a house and you kind of, your alarms go off.
Yeah.
It's hard to take a vacation because I'm in North Carolina. Why'd they do that? Sitting on the beach looking at the architecture of the buildings, but...
When you go to friends' houses, Christmas parties and stuff, when you're walking into a new house, and you're like, man, who did your painting?
Well, I don't say it to my friends, but I will tell you my wife is actually a licensed home inspector as well. So, we sit in the corner and quietly talk about
drive
people's
home.
things. Yeah.
Oh my God, did you
see
the
that
way
chandelier?
The trim came in there on the side?
Yep.
That's awesome.
So,
that's great.
Yeah.
Now, did she get licensed because of your business, or did you meet a home inspector and get married?
No. So, no, we were already married, but she was working, and actually she was on maternity leave after the birth of our daughter, and she said, I'd like to come out and help you, but, we kind of both mutually said, let's not half do it. If you're going to do it, go,
Right.
So she did. She went to school, and she got her license, and she got certified, and she's actually really good at it.
Yeah.
But she has since returned to work, but she'll still dabble every once in a while if I get a big house.
Nice. That's awesome.
But she's got the eye for it.
All right. So. Now we talked the pre-inspector life. Now let's go in the future. We always talk about 2 years from now, 2024. Give me a couple of goals. Give me a couple of boxes that you want to check off, or some things on your vision board, both business-wise and personally, that you want to accomplish in the next 2 years.
Business-wise, pool inspections. That's next on the list for me. I'm actually already certified. I'm a certified pool operator through the National Association of Pools and Spas. I just haven't again, I'm at third base. I just haven't gotten home yet. So a couple last-minute puzzle pieces to plug in there. But that's definitely, there's a demand out there for it. There's not a ton of people that do it. I work with a couple great pool inspectors now that I tandem with, but I have a lot of agents and buyers that are very comfortable with me, and I have people, for lack of a better words, begging me to do it, and I'm just like, I'm getting there. So it's something I want to take on, but and then personally, honestly, just a little more family time.
Okay.
I think the pandemic kind of crushed all of us. I was doing 3 a day, 6 days a week for 18 months. Yeah, and it was my daughter's going to be 3 in about a week. Okay. So, just making it to all those games and daycare pickups and all that.
Doing some more dad stuff.
Yeah. Awesome.
So, all right. So now we're going to go with your personal question, and I'm going to go with music. So you wake up tomorrow morning and a fairy comes to you and says, you can have a concert at your home on Friday night. Any band ever, alive or dead, any singer ever, alive or dead, comes to your house and plays 2 songs. Who's the band, and what would the 2 songs be?
Wow, that's a good question. I grew up in the very kind of punk rock pop era, which is probably not everybody's favorite. I did a lot of like Green Day, Blink-182, stuff
Okay.
like that. Most of them have either split up or got new members, so I'd say probably one of those.
Okay.
I don't do a ton of music these days, almost regrettably. It's not something I think about a ton. I do a lot of podcasts.
Okay.
So I do a lot of home inspection podcasts and construction.
Is there a home
podcasts.
inspection podcast, really?
There's podcasts for everything.
I guess there is podcasts
You know?
for everything, yeah.
It sounds cheesy, and I'm not saying this because I'm sitting here with you. I genuinely love construction, and I kind of like, I'll dive deep, listen to somebody talk about joist hangers for an hour, and it's crazy how much there is to learn, and it's
Sure.
like, just when you think you knew everything, somebody comes and tells you something. So, the weird part about my job is the better at it you get, the worse at it you get it. Like,
Sure.
The more you know,
the more critical you are,
yeah,
the
and
more
so,
you expect of yourself.
I do a lot of introspection as well. Like, where do we, let's land in the middle here, right? So we know a lot of things, but we can't necessarily just destroy people. So
Right.
we gotta, kind of find the happy middle.
Right in the middle, right? Awesome.
But that's...
Andrew, thank you so much for coming by.
Yeah, of course.
We will be right back with the next guest on Mr. Mortgage's Neighborhood.